654-321. Well, hello there, friends, lovers. This is Life on Earth.
Is it?
It is. It is. Welcome to Life on Earth. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is June 3rd, 2021. And Life on Earth is a half-hour show, event / room / discussion, because you are in on this on the chat. We've already got our first super chat.
Thank you, Bonnie.
And the focus for this half hour, to be followed up with who knows how long on Clubhouse, is values are primary. Objectivism, Ayn Rand's philosophy, is a philosophy for living on Earth, which means objectivists can and should be the most benevolent, optimistic, cheerful, hopeful, gracious, positive people on Earth.
And we should wear really cool spangly bangles.
Super cool.
Yes.
We talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. This is only the second YouTube show, but we've been on Clubhouse for months. Our other show, 5 Minutes with Robert Nacer, has a similar theme. And yet, we got to talk about this. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about where is my flying car?
I think there is a need to talk about this.
There is a need to talk about it. You know, I said before, you've heard me say before, it doesn't sound very objectivisty, but it's absolutely true. We are surrounded by miracles, not least of which is ourselves. Beneficence, magnificence. And what is our responsibility? What should we do about it all? We should appreciate it. Simple, happy gratitude should be the leitmotif for anybody alive in the 21st century. And be a part of it. Engage, create, produce, trade, be part of the miracle. Fully take advantage of it. Capitalize on it. Get off the bench. Get out in the field.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying that we should take action?
We should take action.
Oh, okay.
Well, you think that's obvious, but we should also celebrate. We should be reveling. We should be singing and dancing. We should be sharing with those we value. We should be living well. We should be living large.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. Well, when I say we're surrounded by miracles, you know what I mean. If you don't, I'll tell you. What I mean is that we are surrounded by the products and innovations and knowledge and methods and opportunities and abundance that none of us could have produced individually, created by a division of labor society. And yet, you and I,
and myself as well,
and my co-host Amy Nacer, each of you who's ever had an independent thought, and you know you have, and has acted on it, you have done this. The power of reason to know reality, the power of ethics to provide a rational, effective guide to action, the power of liberty to provide a framework for freedom, for trade, for progress, have led to a world unimaginable by those who lived just a few hundred years ago. Not literally miracles, not magic, not mysticism, not the antithesis of reason and rational ethics and capitalism. When I say we're surrounded by miracles, not least of which is ourselves, we are surrounded by the products of the rational mind. We focus on the creative geniuses who make this possible, and we should. But we're also surrounded by people like me and you, reasonable, rational people who are part of that. Miracles. But here's the thing.
What? What is the thing?
Where's my flying car? I had a conversation with a friend, and I discussed the positive side of the equation. The question, if technology and production and efficiency and just about everything's getting better all the time, why do we still work more hours than ever?
That's a great question.
Do you remember the paperless office?
I remember that phrase.
You remember the expression? Do you remember what that was? We had computers. Computers were going to be so efficient, paperwork would be gone. And we joked about it. We joked about it in the 80s. We joked about it in the 90s. Where's my paperless office? And eventually we got that.
Right. The administrative assistants can become entrepreneurs and only have to work 3 days a week. Right?
Well, no. But we did get the paperless office.
Yes, we did.
Or what we really got Last year was the remote office.
Mhm.
But still, we produce a ton of paper. We waste a ton of paper. And more than that, we didn't get the flying car.
And we still have trees growing in the United States of America.
The happier part of the picture is that we could all do less. If you're working 40, 60, 80 hours a week, you could take a job where you work less. You could take an easier job. But we don't want an easier job. What we want is not just a house, but a nice house, the best we can afford. We want not just a television, but a big color television. Does anybody remember black and white TV? And we want cable, and we want internet, and we want not just an occasional special night out, but regular restaurant visits, and as nice as we can afford. We want not just a doctor's visit when something goes wrong, but regular checkups and emergency care, and to be covered in any and all circumstances. But why shouldn't all the extras, all those niceties, and the flying cars have been possible on a 20-hour work week? Like we believed in back when Don Fagan, why am I forgetting Donald Fagan's name, was singing about the new frontiers. When we all believed that that was the future.
Is that Steely Dan, right?
That's, well, a solo album, but yes, Steely Dan.
Yes, as everybody should know, right?
That's right. That's what should have happened. And that is the sadder half of the picture. Around the time I was born, this is the 1960s, a lot of us expected, and with near certainty, that by 1984,
yeah, well, either we're going to be
1984, when I turned
dystopia or what?
I turned 21 in 1984. And I can tell you, as a kid, as a teenager, we all expected by then we'd either blow ourselves up in a thermonuclear war.
Yes. Hide under your desks, kids.
That's right. Stop, drop, and roll. Or we would be living a futuristic life of relative leisure.
Rosie the robot, like the Jetsons.
What happened?
Indeed, what did happen?
The technology we've got, the innovations we've got, the miracles that we've seen really do meet the standards. I would not have guessed in the 70s or the 80s. I couldn't have guessed smartphones and smartwatches. I couldn't have guessed the internet, the availability of every piece of music ever written in your hand. I couldn't have guessed 1,000 things. But where's the flying car? And why are we still working 60 hours a week? I was talking to an objectivist economist about this. I don't know if Keith Weiner wants to be named, so I won't say his name, but the difference between his conclusion and mine was that I believe there's no big crash coming. There's no big disaster. I mean, there will be another crash. There always is. There will be another 2007 style crash. There is no big crash coming. And the reason is we're paying the price right now. The future is now. The disaster is now. The crisis is right now. As splendid, as magnificent, as beautiful as life in America is, and I believe it is a pale gray shadow compared to what it should be.
Have you ever tried to run up a down escalator? We have.
Yes.
We've actually succeeded in doing this when we were younger.
Yes.
But running up that down escalator, and you're running and running and running, keep going. You see the very, very top, and you're almost there. You're almost there. You're almost there. You're almost there. But it takes a while. So that's kind of what I feel like we're on right now.
Yes.
Running up the down escalator or walking up it, and not quite reaching it.
You listening right now, me, Amy, all of us, we should be living well on 20 hours a week. It's almost impossible to calculate the productivity gains that we have seen in my lifetime from machinery, from robotics, from advances in transportation, from modern business practices, by electronics, by information technology. Your productiveness has been magnified many, many, many fold. So where is that bounty you've produced? A fraction of it's in your pocket, and you're living your life right now, and you may be living well, which you can do if you work hard and make rational decisions. But the vast, overwhelming, heartbreaking majority of the production of your life has been taken and redistributed and used against you and squandered or
Yes.
simply destroyed.
Oh, tell us about all the taxes, Robert.
Yeah, well, look up the Onion parody about the money hole. I think most of us have seen that video. It's funny, except it's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last time I discussed this online, I wrote, there's no need to let that make you pessimistic. It is what it is, and you do about it what you can, and then you let it go. But the truth is important. It does need to be understood just in order to make sense of the world and to give you the credit you deserve for your work and effort, for what you've created. I've ridden this horse for a long time, and I believe my conclusions about both the coming financial crisis, which again will just be a usual crisis, not wheelbarrows of cash crisis, and also my conclusions about culture and philosophy, I believe that they're correct. Take them with a grain of salt. Don't go investing in the stock market using my analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you should, because I'm right, and it's worked out well for me. But
well,
I'm characterized as a Pollyanna, as an optimist, as a benevolent person. And yet sometimes I feel like I'm sitting in my paperless office that never really went paperless and wondering, where the hell is my flying car? And the answer is, well, the disaster is now. The crisis, the financial crisis, the wheelbarrows of money, that crisis is happening right now. You are being bled right now. Now that's half the story, and I'm not going to leave us on that pessimistic note, but I want to see, because I see in the super chat, we're on the Ayn Rand Center UK's channel, and that means you can super chat to support ARC UK, and that is so cool. We've never got to watch super chats come in on our own show. We don't do that, but here we do. And you should be supporting Ayn Rand Center. You should be a member of Ayn Rand Center UK.
Yes, you should.
Go to AynRandCenter.co.uk.
It doesn't take that much.
Click membership. Yeah, it's like £10 a month.
£10 a month.
And
that's
the
like
perks are great.
$15 a month in US.
I mean, that's reason enough, is just to support the organization. But you sign up and you get discounts to conferences. You get access to Don Watkins' writing class for free. You get access to these Zoom study groups every weekend. There's serious stuff.
Oh, wow.
It's great. You get on their WhatsApp and you know what's happening all the time. You should be part of Ayn Rand Center UK if you're not already. But what did our super chatters say? If you could scroll back to that first one.
Absolutely. Bonnie says, hi, Amy, Robert, Amy. I'm here, but I'm about to be driving, not in a flying car.
See,
Thank goodness for audio.
That's just unacceptable.
Well, no, I got to take a step back. She's in her car. She's listening.
It's very cool. We are surrounded by miracles.
You can listen to us while you're in your car. You can listen to us after.
How on earth is she listening to an internet-based show in her automobile? Oh, what do you mean? That's 2021. Everybody's doing that now. Yes, they are. So we're taking a second and thinking, my God, as a kid, I would have been like,
this is amazing.
Oh my friggin', it's amazing. It really is amazing. And yet, the car's not flying.
Yes, we're still up on the
so Bonnie, thank you for the super chat. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Mary Aline, of course, chimed in, because Mary Aline is such a great supporter of ARC UK.
Yeah, she
chimed in twice. She came on a second time just to say what is the bottom line of the question why. She said innovation requires freedom. Innovation does require freedom.
It so does.
And fundamentally, and I think what she's driving at, is freedom of the mind, the freedom. I mentioned that part of the problem here isn't just that your money is taken away, it's taken and used against you. What do I mean by that? Well, among other things, regulations that would stop you from doing the things that your mind is capable of doing, of creating the things that your mind is capable of creating. And Mary Aline, in those 3 words, is absolutely right. Innovation requires freedom.
Yeah, if you'd like us to focus on something that you say or a question specifically, please drop us a super chat.
Yeah, hit that super chat. Let's get these numbers up. It was fun.
We do have a non-super chat question here. Are we getting piano music at some point?
Are we getting piano music? Oh, we're sitting in front of the piano. That's right.
There you go.
That was great. Amy's one-note symphony or concerto. Right. I guess that would be.
I shall be famous now.
Yes. So thank you for the super chats. Bring them on. Keep them coming.
Yes, they do support Ayn Rand Center UK. So
Yes.
cheers to that. I have a mug that looks like it's from, I don't know, maybe Ireland or something. It's not.
Does that look very UK to you? Does that look like you might have got that at the Cotswold Cottage?
I could
there?
have some Guinness in it or something like that, or Foster's or something.
Well, here's the other half of the story. Here's the rest of the point.
Yes.
Here's the disappointing part, and here's the heartening part.
Mm-hmm.
There are worse things going on even than taxes and regulation.
Really?
Than the people who are stopping you from getting your flying car.
That's terrible.
All you need to do is go to Amnesty International's website, or Human Rights Watch, or CNN or Fox News. Or better yet, if you want to see the direct thing we're talking about, go to usdebtclock.org.
So fun.
Except you really shouldn't, because it's like downer.
It's such a downer.
But I go there anyway, just regularly. If you are still arguing about which presidential administrations were worse, I think the clock tells the whole story. usdebtclock.org. But anyway, you could go to those websites. I've got a list because I keep in touch with all of the bad things that are happening in the world. What? Because otherwise, I don't know the good things that are happening. I can't appreciate them. But here's the thing. Once you're done looking at Amnesty International and Human Rights and UNICEF and finding out all the terrible things that are happening in the world that you could be sad about 25 hours a day, go to humanprogress.org.
Yeah.
Go to the World Happiness Report at worldhappiness.report. Or read Matt Ridley's new book, or his old book, The Rational Optimist. Read Steven Pinker's The Better Angels of Our Nature. Everything is getting better all the time, and every indication is that's not going to stop. No matter what you think of the current cultural political situation, you're like, well, it's gotten so bad, it's finally got to all stop. No, it's not. It's not going to stop. Sorry. I'm not saying that progress is automatic. I'm not saying that free will doesn't exist. But all of the evidence is that everything is getting better all the time. Well, which of these two is real? Which is the reality? And the mistake, of course, is thinking that it's one or the other. It's all true, all of it. And the real question, which we suggested last week, if you heard the show, the real question is, what do you choose to do about any of it?
You mean I can take action?
You can,
with regard to all of this?
You can take action, and you can decide not to take action.
Oh, and Mary Eileen drops another 5-pounder here.
Boom. Speaking
imagine,
of boom, we'll get into that too.
Yes, speaking of boom. Imagine the pandemic before the internet and Zoom and FaceTime, etc. If people are depressed now.
Yeah, well.
Well, let's try not to be depressed.
Yeah, I could talk about the pandemic, but that's controversial. The short answer to that is the pandemic would have been worse, but it wasn't, for all sorts of really exciting reasons that I don't think anybody's giving enough credit to. That goes on the optimism side, but let's drop that for a second. That's controversial. The point is, if all the doom and gloom and all of the oppression and regulation and repression and oppression is all true, and all of the optimism and all of the advancements and the bright outlook for the future, and that is true, what do you do about this? You could be Peter Singer. You could be a utilitarian. You could join the effective altruism movement and take all of that beneficence, all of that bounty, all of that stuff you're still creating, even though it's taking you 60 hours a week, and give as much of it away as you can. Find people to help, devote your life to it. And under effective altruism, you don't give until it hurts, you give until it cuts into your productivity. You sacrifice not just everything you can, but just the right amount so you can keep sacrificing. But here's the thing. We're on the Ayn Rand Center UK. I've got a copy of The Fountainhead behind me here, as well as Opar on the shelf there. Behind Amy is a this really is a gold-plated dollar sign.
Yes.
I'd love to say it was a solid gold dollar sign,
well,
but it's so magnificent that our friend Jeff produced for us. It really is a beauty. It actually says Atlas Shrugged on it, and reason, purpose, self-esteem. There are things written on it that are amazing. Thank you, Jeff, if you're watching this.
Yeah,
you're the man.
Edison's in the house here.
Anyway.
Behind Robert.
The point is, we are not You are not, I am not, Amy is not. We are not altruists.
Nope.
I swear by my life and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man, nor ask another man to live for mine. There are people I would give my life to save theirs. This is not the stereotypical selfishness of a man who cares nothing about people.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote under my 10 unpopular truths, a truth that won't be unpopular to objectivists. I said altruism isn't a truism. It's not a truth, not an ideal. It's hardly even an idea. It either means put the welfare of others above yourself, in which case it's unworkable and therefore a source of frustration and failure, or it means integrate the significance of others into your own value hierarchy, in which case it's coextensive with self-interest, and so it doesn't mean what anybody thinks it means, making it a faulty concept overdue for discard.
And it's such a context dropper.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It is so it's so inept.
Yes, the contradictions just explode out from the idea. We spend countless time and energy, everybody does. The most committed altruist spends countless time and energy learning how to be self-aware, self-empowered, self-responsible,
Mm-hmm.
to gain self-assurance, self-confidence, self-esteem. There isn't or shouldn't be any conflict between your self-interest and your love and respect for others. You know, we just went to New Orleans, and once again, the flight attendant reminded me, please secure your own oxygen mask before attempting to assist others. Or to quote Ayn Rand, to say I love you, one must first know how to say I. It's not either or, it's a false alternative. So the question is, if you've got all of this terrible stuff going on and all of this oppression within our own country stopping you from achieving flying cars, even though I still submit that you can achieve enormous wealth if you're determined to do so, even in 2021, and perhaps in some ways with more opportunity than ever in history, what do? How much time do you spend focusing on the terrible things going on and what you'd like to do about it, whether it's through charity or direct action? And how much time do you spend fighting the evils of the world?
Mm-hmm.
Usually has something to do with our government and the people who support it. And I love the government when it's limited to the three things it should be doing. And how much time do you spend? How much time do you spend on the positive, on your values, on your life, on your loves, on dancing, on singing, on romance, on life? The answer is some of this and some of that. And you get to decide. And the only wrong answer is an answer that's not consistent with your own values. So on my show, I give the 97-3 rule. 97% of your time should be spent pursuing values, should be spent on the positive, should be spent on working and enjoying the products of your work, and leisure, and dancing, and singing, and romance, and celebrating, and looking in the mirror and saying, damn. And 3% of your time should be spent fighting evil.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to go out with a protest sign in your hand, although Lord knows I've done enough of that.
Yes, we have.
You can also, and I also, send money to organizations that are working on your behalf. Write letters to your Congress critters like we've done, or to your governor like we've done during the pandemic.
Yes, our governor creatures.
But more than that, you buy insurance and you safeguard your property and you do the things that it takes with 3% of your time and energy and resources and finance to protect yourself against evil and to fight the things that you think need to be fought. 97-3 might not be your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can't have my flying car, I'm going to spend some time fighting the reasons why that didn't happen. And yet I'm not going to let that be 90% of my time. And I know people who do. And there are a few of them who do that professionally. I know people who are in politics, not arguing about politics on the internet. I mean, they're actually in politics.
Yes, they're running for office. They're doing all sorts of things.
And if that's your thing, or if you're a
and-
cop, or if you're a soldier, or if you work for the fire department, or if you're just a professional intellectual fighting, think of like Jason Crawford, or the other intellectuals on the Ayn Rand Center UK channel, that's great. And if that ends up being 50% of your time fighting evil, well, fighting evil can be a profession. But don't sacrifice.
Right. Don't become an altruist for fighting.
If you're spending your time complaining, if you're spending your time indulging in snarky humor, in negativity, constantly grousing, but in ways that aren't changing anything, aren't producing anything.
I don't think that you're going to be effective when you are complaining, when you are writing letters, when you are speaking out. You're not going to be very effective if you're coming at that kind of thing in a cynical way, in a way that you're saying, I have suffered, I have sacrificed, I have, poor me, I'm so helpless. I have not lived life. I'm not a value, somebody who goes out and pursues values and lives. And now I'm going to, protect something that I don't have, basically. So if you're not somebody who goes after values and you're just constantly complaining, what are you protecting? Mm-hmm. What life are you protecting? So the more you do find, inspiration to gain new values and live new experiences, you're going to have so much more power behind you when you do speak out.
Yes.
I was in politics, by the way.
Amy was actually in our state Republican Party, and she got a heavy dose
president.
of it. Yes, before 2016. But for a longer period of time than I could have handled. So we're going to be wrapping up soon. We're going to go to Clubhouse. We're going to talk to you directly. But I want to see, do we have any more?
Yes, Chris has given us
Chris Cathcart
here.
Look up Chris Cathcart on the internet if you don't already know Chris. Chris is an intellectual. And he has a unique perspective on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So look up his Ultimate Philosopher website and read his stuff. But Chris Cathcart says benevolent universe premise, and
a thumbs up.
and it's almost psychic. It's almost mystical, because I'm going to wrap up this episode.
It's a miracle.
I am going to wrap up before we go to Clubhouse and talk to you all directly on that platform by reading an excerpt from OPAR, that book over there, Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, in which Leonard Peikoff discusses the benevolent universe premise that Chris just mentioned in the super chat.
Woo-hoo.
Leonard says, I should say Dr. Peikoff, I've met him, so you start calling people by their first name, but geez, rude much? Dr. Peikoff says, Ayn Rand, by contrast, advocating as she does an objective approach to ethics, holds that pleasure is moral. Happiness, therefore, is not only possible, but more. It is the normal condition of man. Ayn Rand calls this conclusion, which is essential to the objectivist worldview, the benevolent universe premise. Benevolence in this context is not a synonym for kindness. It does not mean that the universe cares about man or wishes to help him. The universe has no desires, it simply is. Man must care about and adapt to it, not the other way around. If he does adapt to it, however, then the universe is benevolent in another sense, auspicious to human life. If a man does recognize and adhere to reality, then he can achieve his values in reality. He can, and other things being equal, he will. For the moral man, failures, though possible, are an exception to the rule. The rule is success. The state of consciousness to be fought for and expected is happiness. Now, unquote, there's a phrase he throws in there. He says, well, other things being equal, happiness is possible. What things aren't equal? The things that kept you from having your flying car. But despite that,
yes,
despite that, in 2021,